I'm Joanna Small, the Public Information Officer for the Commerce City Police Department. It's Monday, July 8th, and these are your weekend high or low lights, depending on how you look at them. This is essentially our video blotter where we give you a rundown of the most significant incidents your CCPD patrol officers responded to over the weekend. But we always like to start off with a few fast facts. We answered 367 calls for service and made 98 traffic stops just on Saturday and Sunday. Now here are those highlights in chronological order. Late Friday night, an observant CCPD patrol sergeant saw a Honda Odyssey run a stop sign at East 80th and Rosemary and recognized the vehicle without plates, matched the description of a recently stolen vehicle. Officers had attempted to contact the driver before for first-degree burglary, assault, kidnapping, and domestic violence charges in another case, but the person had fled. The sergeant got behind the Odyssey, which ran several more stop signs and a red light, but was having some kind of mechanical problem. So while the driver was attempting to elude, the vehicle kept slowing down. The driver jumped out and tried to run, but officers were faster. He ditched a bag which turned out to contain methamphetamine, and he was then arrested. He is now facing those previous charges that we just mentioned, as well as charges for eluding, possession of a controlled substance, and obstruction. That same shift of officers Friday night also assisted Adams County with a barricaded suspect in a residence in the 6000 block of Grape Street. The suspect was wanted for second-degree assault and felony menacing domestic violence. The suspect refused to come out, but another individual gave consent to search the residence, and the suspect was found hiding. He was taken into custody by CCPD officers on behalf of the Adams County Sheriff's Office. On Saturday, officers were notified by detectives that they knew the whereabouts of a suspect who was possibly involved in a sexual assault and also had multiple felony warrants for his arrest. Officers went to the location in the 5300 block of Magnolia and saw the suspect outside the residence. When he spotted us, he ran inside, but then did exit and was taken into custody without further incident. Also on Saturday, officers responded to a property in the 4900 block of Niagara Street for reports of a burglary that had likely occurred overnight. The owner told us approximately $4,000 of copper wiring, as well as a forklift, propane tank, and 2 bus alternators were stolen. A pallet of various other items that were to be returned to the vendor were stolen as well, valued at $4,000 too. Unfortunately, there was no surveillance at the actual property, and a canvass of the neighborhood did not result in any footage from cameras nearby. On Saturday night, multiple people called 911 to report teens fighting in the drive-thru of Dutch Bros Coffee on 104th, and that at least one had a handgun. As officers arrived on scene, the suspects were getting into vehicles and leaving. Officers began following one of the vehicles, but when they attempted to stop it, the vehicle turned off its headlights and eluded. Officers were able to set up stop sticks, and the vehicle ran over them. As a result, it slowed to about 15 miles per hour and eventually came to a stop. The driver and 2 passengers, all teenagers, were taken into custody. Officers also recovered a defaced handgun from inside the vehicle. On Sunday, officers responded to a burglary in the 10,000 block of Unity Parkway. The owners of the home told us that someone had broken in while they were gone for just an hour. Jewelry, alcohol, credit cards, and cash were stolen. Surveillance footage from a nearby residence caught the criminals on camera, as well as their modes of transportation. So if you recognize the individual on this bike, this blue Prius, or any of the suspects in the video, please call our investigative tip line at the number that's on your screen. Late Sunday morning, a CCPD traffic officer doing speed enforcement on Highway 2 pulled over a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed. The driver exited and began fleeing from the scene. There was a passenger, though, who remained in the vehicle and did identify the driver. The passenger owned the vehicle and had a valid license, so she was allowed to leave the scene with it. The driver will be charged with obstruction, driving with a revoked license, driving without insurance, careless driving, and speeding. Also on Sunday, a CCPD patrol officer had just completed a traffic stop at 72nd and Dahlia when he saw a person fly up in the air after being struck by a vehicle that then took off. The victim was a teenager. Fortunately, he was okay. He told officers the incident began earlier when the driver of the vehicle that hit him shot a BB gun at him. The victim followed the car in a go-kart and got in front of the vehicle, which then struck him from behind. The driver was located by officers and is now facing charges of second-degree assault and felony menacing. That's all for now. We'll see you next time. Have a safer week, Commerce City, and remember, if you need us, we are always just minutes away.